Good morning. We are back for Advent Day 20, I think. We're back for Advent Day 20. I'm back to my embroidery today because we're only halfway done with these. I got 6 left, so I need to get on this. And you're probably going to get a couple of. I'm going to finish a couple of them. I'm going to show you one stitch today because we have a new stitch to look at, and then I'm going to do my second. There, I have a few that have no new stitches for you. So we're gonna work on the turkey stitch, which apparently is named after Turkish rugs, because this stitch is, let me snip this. This stitch is created to look like Turkish rugs or a pile. And I got ahead of myself here and made a knot in the end of my thread, but this is a stitch where you start your work from the top. So I'm going to pop you down, but this, if we can get up close to this, is what the turkey stitch looks like, is you get little loops. Now I'm going to cut these, but I'm going to cut these after I show you how to do the stitch. So the method you do this is you start on the top and you create little loops of stitches. I'm using 2 strands of cotton here. I'll warn you, this uses a lot of thread. And as I'm doing a whole lot more embroidery on my motifs than they've asked for, definitely be prepared to supplement some of the white. But I really wanted to get a floofy fur-like effect on this boot. And so I thought this turkey stitch would be a good one. All right, I'm going to turn you down now so you can see how the stitch works. But an outline stitch, essentially, you're doing rows, consecutive rows of outline stitches. Every other stitch is a loop that doesn't get pulled through. That's how I'm keeping track of this in my head. But let me turn you down and we'll have a look. All right, so I am going to start this. I'm going to do the little triangle that is just under the bunny on this boot. So my first stitch, I'm going to pull but leave a little tail. My second stitch is I'm going to lock this in. So I'm going to go on the back. I'm going to go back and pull another stitch through, back and pull another stitch through, and then do an additional, like a running stitch, and pull that tight, and that locks this little thread in. Okay, then we're going to do another stitch, and this stitch will be a loop. So I'm going to go back to the end of my previous stitch, or kind of overlap it like I would, and then do this one will become a loop. Got a bit of a long thread here, but this eats it up. So I've got a loop. I'm going to create a loop, and I am trying to put these rather tight together, as you can see from this, so that we do have something to look at. So I'm leaving a loop, and I'm going to push it down so that I've got a space over here to come back up again. Just again like my outline stitch. Don't pull too hard. Go down and lay the second one flat against the fabric. There. And that locked in that loop. Now I'll have 3 little loops down in the V of this triangle. Now I'm going to back stitch up just a little bit because I'm going to work back this direction. So my next stitch will be a loop. Down. Then leave that loop. Push it down. Come back up about halfway or in between in the center of the base of the loop. And a straight stitch down, and this is my lock stitch, so it goes flush against the fabric. My next stitch, overlapping from that previous stitch, will be a loop. Down. And like I do an outline stitch, when I make these not on camera for you, I do 2 stitches at once, just like I would an outline stitch. All right, there's my loop, and now I'm going to lock it down. Another loop. This one goes all the way to the edge. And then I'm going to do my overlap, go up, come up through the middle of the arch, and then out all the way to the edge, and that's my locking stitch. And it's locked. And then I have these loops. Let me get this in the screen for you. I have these loops to look at as I go. Now I'm going to turn around and come back, so I'm going to go up a bit. Make a loop. And you do want on the rows, you want these to shift a bit so that you have a loop that overlaps the row below, but it isn't even with the row below. Otherwise you'll end up with columns, and you don't want that. Hopefully this is easy for you to see on this screen. I will put some links below to other embroiderers that you should go look at, because man, the stitches that are available, it's crazy. I'm going to try and find a place to put some bullion stitches in. That looks like an interesting one. Or that's a fun one to do. All right. I've just pulled my loop down a little too far. Now I need to lock it. There. And another loop. Outline, loop segment. And then lock stitch. Up through. Up through. Oop, I've just pulled my loop. Pull that loop up. I know it's really hard to see this stitch because all the other loops are blocking your view. Uh-oh. And I can feel that I've got some knot below. Let's pull this out. Get this guy back up. There we go. And a lock stitch. This one goes flat. So a loop, a flat stitch, a loop, a flat stitch, a loop, a flat stitch in an outline formation. And then what you do, this is the fun bit, is we're going to give them a haircut. And this will make this really look like fur. And you can sculpt this. You don't have, it can be tall, it can be short. If you've got leftover fluff that you're having trouble getting off, wool will especially give you the fluff. You can take a piece of tape and get it off. But we have fluffy fur right here. So I've just managed with my embroidery to make a little fur cuff on my boot. I'm going to take this all the way up and all the way up to the belly of the bunny. The other stitches I used are repeats to what we've seen before, but satin stitch candy cane with red and green. I did the back stitch with one strand around the bunny. They didn't give me any pink, or I've lost my pink, and I thought brown would make him stand out in relief. Plus his eyes, which are made out of French knots with one strand, and then his hands are just a little satin stitch of red, and then green back stitch around the bow, and gold back stitch around the bell with a little tiny bit of satin stitch in the clanger. And then an outline stitch around the boot. And that's it. I also, this is another one of the ones that have been, that's too small to fit in my hoop. So I back stitched or stitched it onto my muslin so that it will fit in my hoop and stay secure. All right, that's it for the stitching demo. I will off camera get this, finish this up and stuff it. And we will, I'll come back and show you when it goes on the tree. I might have to take this tree with me because I leave tomorrow afternoon, so we'll be working on the rest of these tomorrow. All right. And the seventh one is done. We have the bunny with his fur on the tree.
Born is the King.